You're too soft. You're too aggressive. You're not confident enough. You're too confident. You need to speak up more. You need to let others talk. You care too much about other people. You don't care enough about people. You're too emotional. You're too cold. The impossible standard for women leaders is a no win situation. You're expected to be warm and nurturing, but also assertive and decisive. You should care about people, but not too emotional. Then, men don't face this the same way. When men are assertive, they're leaders. When they set boundaries, they're decisive. When they prioritize results, then they are strategic. Women doing the exact same behaviors get labeled bossy, cold, or abrasive. Same behavior, different interpretation, and that difference is exhausting. You spend cognitive energy managing perceptions instead of focusing on the actual work. That self monitoring is exhausting. Research shows that for women, likability and competence are inversely related. The more competent you are perceived to be, the less likable you perceive to be. The impossible standard doesn't just make leadership harder, it makes it lonely. You are constantly navigating expectations that change based on who's in the room, what mood they're in. And see, if you were a man, pushing back would be seen as confident. But because you're a woman, it's a risk calculation every single time. Male leaders who do this get called decisive and results oriented, but you get called cold. People say they miss the old you. They wonder if the role has changed you. Same behavior, but different judgment. The impossible standard only has power when it's invisible. But when you see it and you know what it is, when you name it, you stop internalizing it as a personal failure. You have to be clear on your own leadership values. Are you a leader who prioritizes people? Great. Own it. Are you a leader who prioritizes results? Great. Own it. Are you somewhere in the middle? Define it, write it down, use that as your North Star instead of the constant shifting feedback. When you know who you are, the noise becomes just that. This is not about complaining. This is about having a place where you can process the contradictions without internalizing them. If you spend all of your energy trying to meet impossible standards that keep shifting, you will lose yourself. But if you're clear on your values, on what you're called to do, on the kind of leader you're meant to be, when you stop trying to meet contradictory expectations, you start leading from a place of integrity. Authentic leadership is not about being perfect, it's about being coherent. It's about leading in a way that feels true to who you are, even when that makes some people uncomfortable. And that is the only kind of leadership that is sustainable. I created Sophie, my emotional strategy AI. Sophie is designed to help you create emotional clarity and respond with calm authority. The impossible standard for women leaders is real. It's not in your head, and it's not your fault. It's something you can fix by being better at leadership. You've achieved your career, built the life, handled the responsibilities, but lately you've been questioning everything. Not in a crazy panic type of way, but more like a quiet whisper that just won't go away. But here's what I know: this isn't a crisis. A crisis is an emergency that requires you to put out fires right now, the way that you do everything else in your life. But what you're feeling, that's not a fire to be put out, it's a flame to fan. What you're feeling are the signals of a life transition taking place. And the woman that you are right now needs to have an emotional transition to become that woman that you've always wanted to be. Your emotions know before your brain does that your current environment no longer fits the woman that you're becoming. And the worst part of all, you're saying to yourself, what if I've wasted time building a life that I don't even want anymore? You're not being selfish, and you're not having a midlife crisis. You're experiencing an emotional evolution, and evolution requires transition. The problem is, no one taught you how to transition strategically. When you have built this wonderful life or this packaged life, when you label what you're feeling as a crisis, you treat it like a fire to be put out. You panic, you make decisions from fear. Listen, the woman that you're evolving into has been inside you all along. God isn't asking you to stay stuck in a version of yourself that you've outgrown. He's calling you forward, toward the mark, toward the prize, toward the woman He created you to be. You have to believe that wanting something different for your future doesn't mean you're betraying your past. You can't transition everything at once. That's not being strategic, that's chaotic. So you have to learn where the real discomfort is coming from. Strategy protects what you've built. Don't just leap just because you're uncomfortable. Investigate the path forward. Listen, you don't have to burn everything down to honor this transition. You can start small with micro habits, small shifts, tiny moves that signal to yourself and the people around you that you're prioritizing yourself and your future. You give yourself permission to evolve without drama, without chaos, and without destruction. It's not burnout. This is evolution. I've grown out of this role. I need to explore what's next. You shift your mindset from I'm stuck to I'm preparing for my next move. Write down three things that you're grateful for every morning. It's not toxic positivity. This is strategic remembrance. When you see where God has brought you, you build trust for where He's taking you. You know what you want. You know what you're willing to do to get it, and you're not reacting, you're planning. You protect what you've built, your relationships don't fall apart, your career doesn't implode, and your reputation stays intact. And people who love you, they don't lose you in this process. They get the most alive, most fulfilled, most authentic version of you because you stopped performing and started evolving. And this isn't a crisis. I want you to remember that. This is your emotional evolution and it's right on time. Now, this isn't a crisis. This is emotional evolution, an evolution that requires a strategy, not an emergency response. Your future doesn't require you to abandon your past, it requires you to honor your evolution. You're not having a breakdown or a crisis, you're having a breakthrough. Fan the flames of what you desire, identify the transitions your emotions are calling for, and walk through it with confidence that you're not in crisis, you're in evolution. The woman you're becoming doesn't measure her worth by how much she handles everything alone. She measures it by how strategically she builds systems that allow her to lead well. Your emotions impact your thinking impacts your behavior, and your behavior creates your environment. Asking for help doesn't feel like failure because you can't handle things. It feels like failure because your entire career has been rewarded for you not needing help. The skills that got you here won't get you where you're going. And if you keep operating like asking for help is a failure, then you'll hit a ceiling that you can't break through. Asking for help isn't the problem. The way you're thinking about asking for help is the problem. Right now, you're thinking about it's like admitting failure. You need to start thinking about it like a strategic leadership move. You have to believe that needing help doesn't disqualify you from leadership, it positions you for it. Learn the difference between what only you can do and what you're doing because you don't trust anyone else to do it. This is the hardest part. You have to release control. You have to accept that their way might not be your way, and it's okay. Let me tell you what refusing to ask for help is stealing from you. You're sacrificing your leadership effectiveness. When you try to do everything yourself, you become the bottleneck. Every time you refuse to ask for help, you're building an environment where you're indispensable and exhausted. You're making yourself the single point of failure. That's not sustainable. And it's not sophisticated either. You become the leader. And that's the shift that matters to your future self. The woman that you're becoming. Asking for help isn't failure, it's strategy. Your competence isn't measured by how much you can handle alone. This isn't a confidence problem. This is an identity question. And the answer isn't about becoming more authentic or more professional. It's about understanding that you can be strategic and real. That's compartmentalizing. And compartmentalizing isn't bad, it's necessary. You can't show up at work the same way you show up with your girlfriends. You're doubting yourself because you're realizing the work persona you built to get here doesn't fully match who you're becoming. And you don't know if you can lead as yourself or if you have to keep performing. The question isn't, am I confident enough? The question is, am I still connected to who I actually am? And that's a different question entirely. If you're managing emotions to protect yourself from judgment, that's not leadership. That's survival. And survival mode doesn't scale. People don't need you to be perfect, they need you to be present. The workplace rewards emotional control, but punishes emotional authenticity. People don't lose respect for you when you make a mistake. They lose respect for you when you pretend you didn't. Authenticity at this level doesn't mean oversharing. It means owning your humanity without apologizing for it. You need to be an emotional planner and not a triggered responder. Your team trusts you more, not because you're perfect, but because you're consistent. You build the leadership presence you actually want, not the one you think you're supposed to have, not the one that keeps everyone comfortable, the one that's sophisticated, strategic, and unmistakably you. It's both. The composed, strategic, confident leader people see at work, that's real. That's you. But it's not all of you. And the more you try to make it all of you, the more disconnected you'll feel. Your emotions impact your thinking impacts your behavior, and your behavior creates your environment. You're doing the work of two people at the office. You're the one everyone comes to when something needs to get done right. At home, you're managing everything: schedules, logistics, emotions, decisions. And you're holding resentment. Your emotions impact your thinking. Your thinking impacts your behavior, and your behavior creates your environment, both your current environment and your future. Resentment isn't other people's fault. It's your indication that your decision making process, it failed you. The more competent you are, the more people will ask of you. And they're not being malicious. It's leadership reality. You're making decisions based on fear. Fear they'll think that you can't handle everything. Fear you'll look uncommitted, or fear you'll damage the relationship. You can't make a clear decision until you know what emotion is driving it. If you can't say yes without resentment, the yes should be a no. Because if you are already at your emotional limit and you say yes anyway, you're not being helpful. You're being reckless with your capacity, with your relationships, and with your emotional health. This is not the right time, or is it? His role at home is to cover and protect you, but he can't do that if you don't tell him what you need. The self gut check method helps you decide in the moment. It helps you name what you're feeling, understand what's driving the yes, and choose strategically. It prevents resentment by helping you decide before you say yes to something you'll regret. Let me tell you what staying silent about your emotional weight is stealing from you. You're sacrificing intimacy with your husband. Listen, intimacy with your husband isn't optional. Emotionally, you need to be vulnerable to someone. And your relationship with your husband is designed specifically for this. Not your girlfriends, not your mom, not your therapist, your husband. But resentment destroys intimacy faster than conflict does. Strategic no's make you a better leader, not a difficult one. You're sacrificing your future self. Every yes you give out of guilt or fear builds an environment where you're always overloaded. You're sacrificing your future by maintaining your past. Strategic no's create space for meaningful yeses, and that makes you more effective, not less. She's not generic AI advice. She's a sophisticated, elegant, professional level emotional strategist built entirely on my proprietary frameworks, the self gut check method and the bling concept. Resentment isn't other people's fault. It's your signal that you're saying yes when you mean no. When you say yes but mean no, you're not being kind. You're being unclear. You're creating confusion in your relationships and you're teaching people that your words don't match your emotional capacity.